Hey, welcome back to How to Barbecue Right. I'm Malcolm Reed. Now y'all know I love me some Barilla style tacos. All that beef cooked down and all that good consomme makes an awesome taco. Well, it got me to thinking, what would that be like if we incorporated that with a slab of ribs and put all that goodness in the wrap? We're about to find out. Let's get to cooking, y'all. So I picked up a couple racks, these St. Louis cut meaty ribs now. I'm gonna bust them out of the pack here. Big, nice, thick rack. You could use the whole spare rib. You could use baby backs if you wanted to. But I like these St. Louis cuts. And I'm gonna jerk the membranes off the back with a piece of paper towel here. And I always pull this membrane off because it's a barrier. I wanna get some seasoning on this side of the meat. I don't need that tough sinew on there blocking all my flavor. I always like to square them up, take a little bit of that end off. You don't have to. That's just my way of doing it. I'm gonna rip a little bit of this knuckle end off, just square them up a little. Makes a prettier rack of ribs. That looks pretty good right there. Good looking rack, St. Louis cut ribs. Got any fat on this side, I'll usually dock it off too. Just because that thick fat's not gonna render. A little bit of fat right here I'm gonna knock down. Not too much though, this side looks good, it's extra meaty. If it's got any thick pockets, I'll take my knife and just score that fat a little bit, help it break down, just have an easier path to rendering. Now let's flip these ribs over. We already got the membrane off of them, but I got a little bit more trimming I need to do. Now we got pretty good looking ribs. Now we're ready to start putting that Barilla flavor to these ribs, and I'm gonna start to layer salt first. The pork needs some salt. Got me a little bit of Valentina hot sauce. That's gonna be our binder, y'all. Put that on the back of them. And take your hand and kind of spread it around a little bit. That's gonna help the seasoning stick to it. I know this isn't authentic, but I bet it's gonna be good. So we're gonna use some of my Grande Gringo Mexican style seasoning for our dry rub. I'm gonna build the flavor on these because we're gonna break them down in a wrap anyway. We need some flavor on the rib. They smell good already. Now we're gonna flip them over, do that same thing. We'll crack sea salt, a little more of that Valentina hot sauce for the binder. I like Valentina, it's cheap, but it's got big flavor. Low price, big flavor. Then we're gonna come back with that Grande Gringo layer right over the top, lay it right on smooth. So y'all, I'm just gonna let these ribs hang out here on the cutting board a little bit, let that seasoning start to kind of meld into the top of that rib. Moisture's gonna start coming out, seasoning's gonna pull flavor inside it, that salt's gonna work on it. They need about 20-30 minutes. Perfect time to go ahead and fire your smoker up. I'm using my Outlaw stick burner today. I've got some Royal Oak lump charcoal going in the firebox. I chunk a couple tumbleweeds underneath to get those coals good and hot. And when the coal bed's ready, that's when I start adding my wood. I've got some cherry and I've got some hickory today. I want a nice mild smoke flavor, but I really like that color that cherry is gonna give these ribs. I'm gonna bring the pit up to about 275 and just hold it there. If you're cooking on any other pit, just keep it at that same temp and you'll be fine. That Outlaw is locked and loaded right at 275. And I'm just gonna put these ribs on the pit. Remember, they're gonna cook how you lay them in there. So if they're crooked, they're gonna have a bend in them. Put this other rack right in front of those. Let that air flow right over them, a little of that smoke. That looks pretty straight to me. We're gonna run it at 275, and I'm gonna go about 2 hours, check on my color, see what it's looking like. I want that mahogany color on them. Then we're gonna break them down and get them in all that good Barilla flavor. And I know I ain't saying it right, but hey, y'all hang with me. So these ribs have been on for about 1 hour and 45 minutes. First time I looked at them, but they look good. And what I want to see is all that seasoning sticking to the rib. It's not wiping off with my finger touching it. So they are looking fantastic. 1 hour and 45 minutes, I think they need 2 hours. So I'm gonna give them 15 more. They're not too dry or anything. Color is beautiful right now. We're just gonna keep letting them roll. But let me show you this sauce that we're gonna put in the wrap to get these Barilla style ribs nice and tender. I'm probably gonna do about the most unauthentic Barilla style you've ever seen. I found a jar of Barilla sauce at Kroger. It's got Gringo wrote all over it. So first I'm gonna taste it. Is it any good? Ooh, oh, that's real good. Put the whole jar in there, shoot. Then I'm gonna take some beef broth, add to it just a little bit, probably about yay much. And I'm glad I tasted it because I was gonna dump a bunch of this Gringo in there, but I don't need too much. I'm just gonna season the top of it a little bit. Keep those same flavors we got running through this whole recipe. Kinda got that braising liquid that I'm going for that you'd see in that Barilla style taco. Beefy. It's got those Mexican flavors to it. A lot of depth, a lot of chili, and then we've got the seasoning with a touch of heat. That's gonna break those ribs down. About time to wrap, y'all. So it's been a smooth 2 hours. And we're ready for the wrap job. I mean, look, we got color. That's that mahogany look I was going for. Starting to see a little bit of bone pull back. What's the backside look like? Oh, they're pretty too. All right, so let's go over to the board, show you how we're gonna wrap them up. So I got 2 sheets of tinfoil tore off here, big enough to wrap these ribs up. And I'm gonna take this braising liquid, pour it right over the top. And then y'all know I'm meat down in that wrap. So let's flip them over. Get us some liquid on the backside. Same thing, just cover it on the backside. Don't lose your liquid if you can help it. We want it in there. Now when you set it back on the grill, just set it in there just like this. We got that braising liquid all around it. So I'm gonna go grab the other rack. This one looks good on the backside too. Starting to see that bone pull back. Beautiful rack of ribs. Double layered tinfoil, ribs down, coat them up on the top side, flip them over. Rest of the liquid, that was enough for 2 racks, perfect. Fold it over, top over, end up, same thing. Now I can get back in this rack of ribs real easy to check for doneness, but they gonna need about, I'm gonna say 1.5 to 2 hours to get tender. We want these almost falling off the bone, but not quite. But I'm just gonna stick these ribs back on there, got them spaced out good, and let her eat, son. Keep that joker at 275 for the next 1.5 hours. We might look at them, but I bet it's gonna take 2 hours. All right, after 1.5 hours, I got to look at these ribs, y'all. I don't wanna overcook them. They might not be there, but we're gonna pull out this big rack in the back. We're gonna bring it over to the cutting board. Ooh, they feel pretty flexible in that full. That's always a telltale sign that they might be there. Well, let's see what we got. I always like this part. Ooh. Oh, look at that bone pull back. Look at all that goodness. Son, that smells good. All right, let me see what my feel's like. 205, 208, 204. Oh, y'all, I'm calling them. I ain't putting them back on. That's 1.5 hours. Keep them in that pan so I don't lose no juice. Let's grab that other rack of ribs. It ain't as flexible, see? They don't all cook the same. It was a little smaller rack, so really I think it's probably done too. Got that disintegration that I want to see. Oh, that goodness. 206, 204. I ain't putting them back on, y'all, but I'm gonna let them sit here and rest in all that juice. Leave my pit going, but I don't have to just keep feeding it logs. I just want to hold it steady about 250. So after we let these ribs rest an hour, just sitting here in the full, it's time to get them out. Now, are they gonna fall apart on me? Maybe. Is it gonna hurt my feelings? No. And don't throw all that juice away. I got plans for that. We're gonna lay them, let's lay them out here for a second. Let me get a little seasoning on the back side. All I got is a little raised rack that I cover with foil just to keep it clean. So we're gonna dry these ribs out a little. So I'm gonna season them on the back side. Carefully flip them back over this way. Look at that top side. Now we got rid of all of our beautiful mahogany color. It's kind of orangey looking now. That's all right though. We're gonna get that back. But let's get our other one out. Don't lose the juice. Don't lose the juice. I'm telling myself, not y'all. These things look awesome. They feel super soft. Carefully manhandle them. A little seasoning on the backside. Carefully. Flip them over. A little seasoning on the meat side. They're ready to eat right now. I just want to dry them out a little bit. Let's take both of these dudes back over to the grill. They need about 15 minutes just to dry out just a little bit. Still got about 250 degrees on my grill. I'm gonna set them in here. 15 minutes. It's gonna be time to try a birria style rib. And I just say it fast because I know I can't say it. So 15 minutes. We have dried these dudes out. They look really good. I mean, look at this. Ooh, that's hot. Check that out. It's beautiful. You see all that seasoning we put on the outside? All right, now the moment of truth, y'all. I get to cut into these ribs. I know bones popping out of that one. I got too much stuff on my daggone board. Flip them over, cut them up. Easier to see them this way. That knife just rolls right through these dudes. Let's keep this end bone. Ooh, look at that, y'all. See if it's tender. It'll pull right out. All right, you gotta take that bite. That is fantastic. It's got all that flavor Just like you make a burrito tacos right here in a dead-gum rib. It's juicy, tender, and packed full of flavor, but it's not too spicy. I mean, it's got a little heat, but that's something right there, I'm telling y'all. I figured out something. Here's what we gotta do. We got this juicy rib. I ain't squeezing it too much, but look at that. How would you take this and make a taco with it? I ain't never made a rib taco. We about to. What I'm gonna do is go ahead, pull that meat off his bones, just like that. Got me some of these little street tacos that I grilled up. We're gonna put that right on that shell. And then I got a little bit of onion, a little cilantro, squeeze a lime. Then I've got some salsa verde I'm gonna dress it with right over the top. And don't think I forgot the Valentina. Oh, that's beautiful. Y'all might want to take a picture of this one. Now y'all remember all that good juice we kept from those rib bones? Well, I poured some of it up. I got the rest of it right here. Take you one of these little rib bone tacos. Jug it off in this consomme. Smoky, spicy, chilies, all that flavor. That's a taco. And if it's your house, you can double dip. Oh man, that, my friend, it may not be authentic, but it is good. Holy smokes. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today here at How to Barbecue Right. If y'all like what we're doing, subscribe to the channel. You know you can follow us on social media. We're on all the platforms, and Shell and I are going to talk about this different new rib recipe for me on our weekly podcast. Y'all give that a listen too. I'm finna get down on some tacos. We'll see y'all next week.